Well, we're still here.
We are still here.
Baruch Hashem, we're back for another episode of Stars of David. Why is this podcast different from all other podcasts, Eli?
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well,
Yeah.
it's because I would say because.
No, I want you to come up with it.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
You're
think
not
of
gonna
it.
interrupt me.
Why is it? No. Go ahead.
It's because we celebrate. Because we're here celebrating Jewish culture and identity, not putting it down.
Right.
Yes.
We're
And a lot of podcasts be putting down the Jews.
Uh-huh.
And we do the opposite in a way where we are celebrating it so people can see how wonderful a culture we truly have established over the millennia and continue to contribute today in modern society.
And that was another episode of I'm Glad We Stopped for This.
I'm glad we stopped for this.
You were like, it was great, but at a certain point, you have to go, bit's over.
No, I am not in charge of the podcast, so that's that is
you're
your
not.
job.
Clearly, because imagine
that is
if you
in the
were.
that's in
like,
your
imagine
contract.
if you were the host, let's just say,
Yeah.
the show would be the last 39 seconds that people had to listen to. That would be the show.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Just you spiraling,
No, I mean,
you spiraling.
if this was my show, it would not be called Stars of David. first of
Okay,
all.
what's the title?
It'd
What's
be
the
called Eli.
Eli.
This little show,
Right.
and
Well, we're here with.
we wouldn't get guests.
I'm Elon Gold. This is Eli Leonard,
Hey,
the only person with lie and nerd in his name.
okay.
Right?
I mean, there's other Eli Leonards in the world.
Are there?
Yes.
What are they up to?
I don't know. They're doing something in Portland.
Well, this is a show that celebrates Jewish culture, Jewish comedy,
Oh,
and then, of course, Jewish kvetching.
judging.
And Eli, you know me.
Right.
I don't mean to complain, but
Did I? Okay.
I'm at a restaurant,
Right.
group of friends, but also my family. It was a weird mix of like, I'm my wife and two of my four kids are coming, but then also like four guys.
Right.
It was gonna be a guys kind of night, and I wasn't in the mood for a guys night. I was in the mood to be with my family. So I went, guys, if you want me to join you, I'm bringing half of my family. They went, fine. So now imagine you're at a restaurant, right? And it's guys' family night.
Yeah.
And then you say to the waiter person, you say, hey, can we get two checks, separate checks? Because we're a family of like four, and then there's four guys. Because it was sushi. You can't split, you can't just split a sushi check. There's certain people who order too much sake, too much sashimi. Like, how could you order, like, sashimi's expensive. Fill up on the rice.
Okay, get to the point.
Oh, okay, fine. So then the waiter goes, I can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do that? He goes, I can't do separate checks. It's one check and that's it. I go, well, there's no way to figure this out. We're five different parties. There's no way to figure out how to pay that. If anything, at least just split it. It'll make it less complicated. And then my friend goes, it's the two-check solution.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Okay, sure.
It's always about these two-something solutions
Okay.
that people think will solve the world's problems.
Okay, I see.
But does it solve any problem?
No. And it's not that great of an idea.
It's not.
He's the one who's saying it's two-check solution.
I'm
not. Am I putting your idea down?
Here's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you want to split a check, split the check.
Right. Okay.
Is it weird to have that issue?
No. It makes sense for a check to be split. This is not a new. If a restaurant has a policy that they're not splitting checks, that's crazy. Some might, and that will just be the way you have to handle it.
Our guest today is one of
Oh, thank God we got out of that.
the most
Oh, wow, that was horrible.
successful,
I wasn't doing well either. I'll take the blame.
inspiring. Mitch Julis, I think he's probably the most successful person I know, like at least in business,
Really?
but
I've
also
never heard
like
of him.
personally and family.
Oh, really?
Mitch is a one-of-a-kind guy.
Okay.
Speaking of splitting the check, I went to lunch with Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch is one of the let's just call it most successful humans on earth.
In terms of
Wealth.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went to lunch. He wanted to meet my parents because his father's experience as an educator and teacher in the South Bronx was very similar to my father's experience. And his father's no longer here. So, can I have lunch with your parents so that I can sort of, bring up all the stories? It'll remind me of my dad, and I could pick his brain and what his life was like, because the similarities were unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
We have lunch. At the end of lunch, the check comes. As a gesture, I just go, let's split it, to Mitch. Guess what he did?
Okay.
Yeah. Who says okay if you're the billionaire?
I think that's a billionaire thing to do.
To say okay, to make me feel not lesser than, like,
No,
oh, you
no.
should pay for everything.
No, because they're idiots.
Right.
Because they are so detached from the reality. Like,
Oh, all billionaires are idiots, Bernie? Bernie.
that's right. The
Wait.
billionaires, right? The billionaires are idiots.
Uh-huh, because they're super successful.
Well, no, right.
Right.
They are not in touch with people.
Right.
They have
They
not-
were once people,
They
though.
were
You're
once
not born a billionaire.
could be people,
Right.
but they are not anymore. Once you
Currently,
get-
they are not people.
right. That's
The moment you become a billionaire, you lose your peoplehead.
yeah, that's true.
That's it. Your license to be a person is gone.
Right.
Because you did too well.
Right.
Great philosophy, Bernie. It's why I love you.
But
It's why I love you. Anyway, the point is, I love Mitch, and Mitch was trying to say, hey, we're just two guys. Let's split lunch.
We could
I'm not
split.
better. We could split. But I was miserable and so disappointed that I was contributing to this lunch. And I don't have the means that, where I could just pay for everybody in a fancy, I picked a fancy restaurant because I knew he was paying.
Mhm.
Anyway, as much as I was disappointed, I couldn't have been happier to have Mitch on the podcast. And can I just talk about it in past tense?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We recorded the podcast in New York, the interview, and boy, you talk about someone who's also just inspiring. You're getting life lessons, you're getting business lessons. It's worth a listen, even if you don't know what a Mitch Julis is. He's not like a famous person.
No.
You've heard of an Orange Julis.
I've heard of
maybe.
Julius.
What other Julises have you heard of?
Julius Irving.
Julius Irving, Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
Never a Mitch Julis.
Never met Julius.
Nobody ever heard of Mitch Julis
No.
unless you're in the world of finance and hedge
funding.
funding things, Canyon Capital. What other Julises do you know?
Jimmy Pessis, the Julius. No, that's the point. What's the point of being a comedian if you can't land a single joke? For these Jews. Hello, Jews. It's Eli Leonard here. Don't come to anything I ever do because I'll just be stringing together horrible thoughts for you. No.
Anyway,
I'm in a bad mood because Mitch Julis is about to be on the podcast.
okay, I just want to say this, and then we're going to bring on Mitch. I'm going to Mitch's son's wedding in Israel in June.
Mazel tov.
God willing, it's going to be beautiful. And you know what I realized? I had this thought recently. First, it was based on a real teaching. So when you break the glass under the chuppah at a wedding, why do we break the glass? Do you know?
Destruction of the temple. To remember.
To commemorate
Right.
the destruction of the temples.
So happy, but remember.
But remember, don't have too much fun.
Right.
Always
Always be mindful and
Mindful.
acknowledge the pain
bad.
that
The
we
persecution.
have and others do experience in the
And you're up there going, can't I just get married for a minute and enjoy this? Isn't the rest of this going to be painful enough?
Okay.
Can't I just take this moment of joy and just experience it to its fullest?
Yeah.
We have to stop and break for pain. But anyway, so we break the glass, but I heard something beautiful. Yeah, I heard a great teaching that we also break the glass as sort of a lesson or a warning to the couple. When you shatter the glass, it's just shattered and you cannot recover it. You cannot put that glass back together. The words that come out of each of your mouths, the way you will communicate with each other in your marriage, watch your words, because once they come out, you cannot gather them, you cannot recover them, and you cannot make them whole again. You could take it back, you could apologize. Once it's out, it's out. So I'm like, what an amazing thing. And then I was thinking, I think there's another way of looking at it. You ever hear the expression, in case of emergency, break glass?
Yes.
What could be a bigger emergency in one's life then they are about to get married. I think the only other bigger emergency is your final emergency. Your last emergency is probably maybe a little bigger. Having just, are you laughing because you know me and Sasha and we have a great marriage, but like you're just laughing because you know.
I'm laughing
you just
because
got married.
I'm laughing because you have just made another incredible my wife joke.
Right. Like I can't not make them. I told you that I was told this by Neil Brennan, write what you care about. And all I care about, and I mean this sincerely, is my wife and my Judaism, like my people and my family. That's all I care about. It's weird. So it is all I'm talking about now, marriage. So it's not the take my wife jokes. It's not with negativity. It is with love. And it is with...
It's an emergency. I'm getting married.
Yeah, because you're going to have to now share your life with someone. You're going to have to live with another person. I would say the same thing about a college roommate. Who did I have more fights with, my wife or my college roommate? My college roommate.
Oh, that's a great marriage.
Yeah, because two people are not supposed to like live together, and yet man should not be alone. But also when you put man with woman or woman with woman or man with man or any two combination of any two people, you're going to have some friction and tension and disagreements and fighting.
Right.
And fighting.
Right.
Which leads me to my next bit. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Which is that, because there's a lot of fights in marriage.
Okay, and there are a lot of bits.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so jealous of professional boxers,
Good.
because they at least know when the fights will be taking place.
Right.
And when, right? Like I could be sitting on my couch on a Tuesday and out of nowhere, I'm going 12 rounds. I didn't even hear a bell. Give me a ding ding, you know? Let me know we've begun. But here's the point. You're just laughing because I messed up.
No, I like the bit. You know I like this bit.
Here's the point. Nobody warns you. Nobody tells you that from the moment you get married, you have entered a lifelong boxing ring. But it's like, well, of course. Why do you think every marriage proposal starts with a box and a ring? Right? Yeah. Now you see this as anti-wife joke.
No. The setup was anti.
Okay, but I promise you that it's marriage or college roommates or a business relationship or me and you, a host and a co-host. Anything will cause problems. Everything causes problems.
Things that cause problems being your biggest emergency.
Yeah.
I mean,
Getting
if you're
married.
saying everything causes problems, then everything would be your biggest emergency.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next thought, which is I think that Mazel Tov, which doesn't mean congratulations. It actually means what? Tov is good.
Luck.
And Mazel is luck. It means good luck. And I believe Mazel Tov is more often than not said sarcastically.
Oh, good luck.
You're getting married? Mazel Tov. Oh, she's Persian? Big Mazel Tov.
Okay.
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? You're having a baby? Twins? Mazel Tov. Good luck with that. That's not going to be too difficult. Twins. Mazel. When do people say Mazel Tov? At your bar mitzvah. Does anybody ever want to be bar mitzvah? No, you have to be. You don't want to be. When you're 13 years old, you're at your most awkward stage, right?
Yeah.
I think you're still in it. But when I was 13...
I'm perpetually 13 and
Right.
93.
You're forever 13 and 93.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, when I was in my adolescent year, it's like, I remember my nose grew before the rest of my face. I looked like an aardvark.
Yeah.
I looked like Alf. Remember the show Alf?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't alive for it, but yes.
Okay, but yeah, so I was just like all nose. And the last thing you want to do, your voice is changing, you look like that, is get up and speak in front of everybody. Like, I don't want to speak in front of anybody ever, despite what I do for a living. Nobody wants to get up and speak in front of people, right? That's why there's like 1,000 people in the audience and only one schmuck on stage, because we're crazy enough to think, oh, we could do it, but we still don't want to do it. Anyway, the point is, at your most awkward, what do they say to you? Mazel Tov, because they're going, good luck, kid. Have you seen yourself? You got to get up in front of people and, oh my God, and you know what I mean? Good luck. Mazel Tov is said sarcastically.
Yeah, and then they say it after you're done with the portion, you know, after you're done with the Torah, but when you're done with the bar mitzvah, they say Mazel Tov because now you're an adult, and it's like, oh, good luck.
Good luck with that.
Good luck.
with adulthood.
Yeah.
Just when you thought childhood
Yeah.
was painful. Good luck.
Yeah.
Mazel tov.
Yeah.
It's like when people say thanks a lot. It could either be said genuinely, someone like you're looking for a parking spot and someone gets a, oh, thanks a lot. Or it could be the person that cuts you off and takes your spot. Thanks a lot. It could be said sarcastically. Same with mazel tov. And what I'm just saying to everyone out there, when you hear mazel tov, think twice. They're not wishing you congratulations. They're mocking you. They're telling you that something in the future has now drastically changed for you and maybe not for the better. Maybe they're saying good luck with whatever you're going through. And we'll be back with Mitch
Julis.
Julis. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov to us.
All right. Well, we are very excited to have. This is a guest that you wouldn't think. I have comedians on, right? You wouldn't think I would have someone like Mitch, but let me tell you something. And this isn't a compliment. It's just true about me. I'm more fascinated about you and your journey and your life than I am about like any other comedian, probably because it's such a different journey and life that I had. And you, I would say, again, like me, from the Bronx, from nothing, unlike me though, succeeded like beyond your wildest dreams as a kid growing up. So that's another thing I admire, someone that comes from nothing and makes more than something out of it. I'm working on making kind of something. You've made more than that. So I am so excited about this interview. I am so happy that you're here. The one and only Mitch Julis, ladies and gentlemen. Let him know.
Great to be here. Great
Now,
to be here.
reading some of the stuff about you, co-founder, co-chairman, and co-chief executive officer.
Codependent.
And codependent of Canyon Partners, probably one of the biggest hedge funds in the world.
Well, we're, we punch above our weight, but we're about 28 billion. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Our
incredible.
brethren from the
What
Drexel
the
days.
fuck are you talking about?
That's what they manage.
28
He doesn't have that. Don't get excited. We're not getting a
No,
ride
that
back
is-
to L.A.
And
that is-
manage it.
He
Manage it.
manages. He manages other people.
You know what Woody Allen said about money managers?
Yes.
He said, it was in his movie Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy. He says, somebody asked him, what do you do for a living? And he says, I manage money until there's nothing left.
That's great.
Yeah, but you know.
But as Woody, he would go like this. Yeah, I manage money until there's nothing left.
Perfect.
Crazy. I started with so much, and now I ended with like
Very good.
little to nothing.
Yeah.
So that-
Anyway,
My Woody Allen boys.
So we are an alternative asset manager. You used to call us hedge fund, but now there's all these euphemisms. in the
because you're
financial-
investing in more than just funds.
No, well, we actually are the investor, and we invest in different forms of credit,
Right.
and things that go for the restructurings, bankruptcy. Not necessarily what your audience wants to talk about,
Right.
but yeah,
But you never know.
but there are, over the years of doing this, from the days working for Mike Milken to now running my own firm with my partner, Josh Friedman, the one thing that I would say, and one of the reasons I'm on your show, that keeps relationships going is something that my father said from the movie Manchurian Candidate, the original one with Frank Sinatra, et cetera. Always with a little humor. The idea that, you're in a serious business but you can't take yourself too seriously, because then relationships get restrained. And when you are dealing with complex financial investments, you really rely on relationships, because nobody has a monopoly on knowledge.
Right.
And therefore relationships are key. And my co-founder, Josh, we were roommates and section mates at Harvard Law and Harvard Business School starting in 1978. So it's my longest standing personal relationship, other than with my parents and my late brother.
That's amazing. Wow. We have more in common than I thought. Both from the Bronx, both dads, educators,
Right.
both lost brothers. That is unbelievable. So we've been friends for like 30 years. And what you said about always with a little humor,
Right.
I feel like that's the motto of your life.
Many
Like,
ways.
That's how you get through the day. That's how you live your life. Even at your birthday celebration,
70 years old.
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah.
Because you look 49.
Thank you.
yeah,
But
52.
I'd say you don't look a day over 70.
thank you. Okay, right. That's good.
So
That's why he's here, right? For
yes,
to
he's here for the
provide
jokes,
truth.
and I have nothing.
Okay.
I've got nothing.
Okay.
But it's amazing that for the celebration, you brought all your friends, all your family. And again, we were celebrating you in life, but you didn't make it about you. Like you brought in a comedian. You could have gotten a better one than me. You could maybe Seinfeld. You could afford Seinfeld. I don't know if you heard. You could have gotten Seinfeld. You couldn't spring for Seinfeld.
Well, actually, at my 50th, I had Robert Klein.
Oh, wow. Who, people don't know this, is the inspiration for why Jerry's doing comedy. He singles out Robert Klein all the time.
Really? I thought it was Abbott and Costello.
He grew up on Abbott and Costello, but he said the reason I'm a stand-up comedian is one person, Robert Klein.
Really?
Yeah. By the way, I did better than Klein, right?
No, you were great.
Okay, thanks. But better?
But I have to tell you, Robert Klein,
It was 20 years ago. So what? Who did better?
what he did, Robert Klein, the theme of that, my 50th, was to recreate the set of Saturday Night Live because when I was 20, 1975 was the birth of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And Robert Klein was one of the first people to appear on it, along with George Carlin.
George Carlin was the first host, right?
Right. And Robert Klein did I Can't Stop My Leg Routine.
Yes,
Which is
amazing.
you know, so Robert Klein is very interesting. Also from the Bronx.
Yes.
DeWitt Clinton.
Yes.
Right? And he was in a number of Broadway shows and films, so he's very versatile. So he combines music actually with humor very, very well.
He does it brilliantly.
He does a great job.
But my point about you is that, or the question is, do you think humor for you? Because you're also
In another life, I'd come back and be a writer on Saturday Night
I was
Live.
about to say you're,
no. If
you're naturally funny, and people don't realize that because you're like the big macher in business. But when you hang out, when you have lunch with you, I'm laughing more than you're laughing.
yeah.
Is it with a little humor as a defense mechanism, or just something you just love being and hearing and doing, or is
Now we're getting like the guy who's doing the interview who did that Jerry Seinfeld interview. You know, I don't know what that guy's name is.
Zach Galifianakis?
No. The more recent ones where they get into like philosophy.
the serious stuff? That guy's name was Barry Weiss, and she's a beautiful young woman who's a good friend of mine.
Yeah,
and,
my friend,
Yeah,
too.
no, it was Barry. I think.
No,
he was crying on it.
Is that right? I haven't seen that.
Literally, she brought him to tears when he was talking about his connection to his people and to Israel. It was the first time
He's been one of the real stand-up guys.
Absolutely.
Post October 7th, a lot of Jews have been hiding.
Yes.
But
he's out there. And
he's
also,
out
I
there.
didn't know he was human until recently. No, I'm not
There
kidding.
were no signs of it.
No. Jerry.
There were absolutely no
Jerry,
signs
like
of
Jay
his humanity.
Leno, are joke machines. And when you meet them, they're lovely and they're kind, but you don't see them as human. And like, for example, and they don't have families. This is pre-Jerry's
whereas
family.
you, for example, wear all the warts.
I'm human.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. But then
Makes you an accessible comedian.
right. But Jerry was all about
He had
the
an
work.
armor of humor.
Yes, and all about the jokes. And then he gets married. I think that really changed. And then you saw he became a dad, and you saw him connecting with, because once you have kids, you start caring about things you never gave a crap about.
Because, you have to pass on to them something.
Correct.
And it's not going to, the money's not going to make it for
Right.
them, right? It's going to.
For your kids, probably it'll be fine. But for like other people, or you and Jerry's, but for like our kids,
The money.
It sounds good
it sounds good to have money.
to have it passed down.
It's
It
nice to
really
have
is.
a little bit, but it's the values ultimately.
Right.
And because otherwise they'll just, no matter whether they have money or not, they won't have a good life. They'll destroy themselves.
Right.
So he probably feels that way. So then the question is, where does he get the values from? And you can sort of make it up as you go, or you could say, like there's this Jewish tradition that's thousands of years old, and they seem to have a pretty good record of surviving all the challenges. So maybe I got to get a little bit in touch with my Jewish identity and those values that I was raised with and pass it on to the kids.
Yeah.
And work with my wife in that respect.
Yeah, and that's what I give credit to his Judaism and connecting to that, and to his wife
And Mark
Jessica.
Schiff, our mutual
And Mark
friend,
Schiff, our mutual
has
friend.
always been,
Yes, an
always
advocate,
there
a
and
champion.
advocating.
He's
for
on
that.
tour with Jerry now.
Yes.
So yeah, having someone like Mark Schiff in your ear who really knows the truth and the history and the facts, it definitely affects you. But I still think, and again, he was always human, always a good guy, but his true humanity came out when he got married and had kids and went, okay, so now I see, and especially with all the anti-Semitism, I have to protect these guys from what's going on out there. So of course I'm going to go to Israel and show my support. And of course I'm going to fight anti-Semitism.
Protect his children.
Yep,
In other words,
children.
he feels he's on the front lines for his kids.
When he's a bachelor, what does he have to care about?
Right, exactly.
Other than his next set.
I think we all feel that way, right?
What do you mean?
We all feel
That it's for our
that
children.
We have to do it for our kids.
100%.
Right.
And I was,
I mean, you put yourself out there big time.
yeah, and luckily
I don't know what you do, but
he does nothing. Absolutely nothing. No, he has a beautiful one-man show that's all about his Jewish pride and history,
Great.
and it's an amazing.
I mean, he's not going to hide with that.
That's
key
right.
pro
That's what
going on
it's
there.
all about.
You
That's what the whole
can't.
show's
Yeah,
about.
it's like,
you can't. What's my favorite
I
opening?
mean, you don't have to wear a
I'm my
Star of
favorite-
David.
Oh, yeah.
What did you
it's,
say? What's your opening joke?
It's to Jewish people. I say, I look like all of you combined. Yeah.
Who else do you look like?
That's really good.
Yeah, I look like Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and
It
Garfunkel.
works. It works with this demographic.
That's
the
good.
Simon
By
and
the
Garfunkel
way,
works
the
with this
references of Simon and Garfunkel
Very
to
good.
Bo Hoskins. We've lost Gen Z, X, Y, and H.
Well,
We've lost all the
movie
letters.
references.
Yeah,
forget about it.
no, it's fine. Listen,
But you asked a very seminal question,
Yes.
which is, is humor, this continuity of humor, always with a little humor, is it a defense mechanism or what is it? Why is it present? And to me, could be, we always have defense mechanisms, but I think humor is a bonding thing, right? Because
it's a shared experience.
it's an educative thing because I think the great humorists are able to connect things that you wouldn't think are connected. For example, like I was going over with somebody today your bit on why Jews shouldn't have Christmas trees.
Right. The classic.
Because-
You know that bit.
The classic.
Yeah, the Christmas tree.
right?
Yeah.
That made
And-
it through all the
and so
WhatsApps.
would people connect like the Talmud and all those strictures with, something as joyous and that we always think about during the holiday season, which is coming upon us? It's like, no, but you connected them. And all of a sudden that juxtaposition is like surprising and surprising sometimes can be bad, like in a horror movie, somebody jumping out of a closet, or
Right.
sometimes the surprise
Is
can
the
be,
laugh.
is the laugh,
Right.
because wait a minute, I never thought about it that way. George
Right.
Carlin was very cerebral in that sense. And he also had the physicality that added to the cerebral. Robert
He had that
Klein,
great
the same
hunching
thing.
back.
He had the
That
hunching
great
back.
hunching back with the big eyes.
Yeah.
And then,
Let's talk about America. What's wrong with America?
right.
Yeah. But anyway,
And
but
the
I
same
love
thing
him
with Robert
because-
Klein and you too.
Thank you.
So
That's so nice. Am
you
I your
can
favorite
merge-
comedian?
Are you
Wow.
my-
Did you hear that pause?
Yeah.
He couldn't even answer right away. Of course you are. That's why I hired you for my
Let me
birthday.
tell it to you this way.
The answer's not yes.
Not yes. I thought you were going to say not yet, as I would get better. You're saying not yes.
Not yes.
Not yes.
So
I'll say it this way. Not yes.
Not yes.
Anyway, I'll tell you, I went into the person I showed your little clip to, and I said I'm going to do
Podcast.
I'm going to
Yeah.
do a podcast with Elon. Now she said, "Oh, you mean the guy that killed us with the lunchtime presentation that he did at our research retreat years ago? Elon Gold. He was so great
On the beach, I think.
Yeah, in Malibu on the
Yeah.
bluff there in the park.
I'm working
and,
bluffs,
and she
Eli.
remembered you're working bluffs. And
What are you doing?
I won't tell the
Lunchtime?
audience what you were willing to work for back then.
Oh, please don't.
Please,
I'll work for it
Doing
now.
lunchtime. What do they call it? Bluffs?
Lunchtime. Yeah, lunchtime retreats at the Bluffs.
At the bluff.
I do
Malibu.
lunchtime retreats at the. You
Now
know,
actually,
this-
Michael Landon Park.
Yeah.
That's where you were.
Oliver Shalom.
And she,
Yes.
Jew,
Yeah.
right? Michael Landon.
Yep.
Uh,
So what did she
gotta
say?
name
I'm
him.
so curious.
He was so great. And
Oh,
she goes,
wow.
I think, can we hire him again? I said, we couldn't afford him
That's
anymore. He is so-
hilarious.
But she
By the way, you
exactly
can.
remembered.
By the way, you can.
Yeah, but-
But that's so nice.
So
I
that
think-
goes to the point that coming from me, I could say you are my favorite comedian. But coming from somebody
right.
who had one exposure to you
Wow.
and remembered it so vividly and said, I'd love to hire him because he could really get the energy in our
Right.
firm
At a bluff.
at a bluff.
Yeah,
And
no
we
one.
wouldn't
If
be
you
could
bluffing.
play the
We'd
bluff,
be
you
using
could
the
play
humor,
that.
right? Okay.
Right. That is, by the way, I thought the end of the story was going to be like, and then she said, whatever happened to him? I thought that was going to be the end.
You know, I heard Chris Rock before the Oscars. He would take his monologues on the sheet of paper and read them at the Bluffs, see what it worked.
Yeah, of course. That's where he tried out all of his best bits at the Bluffs. So I want to talk a little bit about origin story.
So to put a cap on it,
Yeah.
humor for me could be defensive to your
But it
point,
doesn't have to be.
But I think it's a bonding thing. And I
Absolutely.
think
It's a
what my
great answer.
colleague at Canyon was saying in saying that she wanted to hire you again is she's all about getting everybody to bond in our firm. And she was saying like he was so good
Right.
at that event.
It's either me or yoga mats.
yeah.
Right?
Or,
That's
yes.
it.
Or
You want-
like a spa day.
Yeah, spa day. I'm so fascinated by people who start from very, very little beginnings and really like become a juggernaut of epic success. So first of all, can we talk about your folks for a minute? Because that's
Sure.
who you are. You
ahead.
are your folks.
Go ahead.
And what they were like, where they came from, what was your childhood like, and then how the hell did you accomplish what you've already accomplished?
Okay, and just keep it under 2 minutes.
Yeah, right. Do that.
Yeah.
So look, simply this. My parents are first gen. My mom was born, who's
April.
still with us, 95,
know. April.
1930.
Well,
Excuse me?
where?
Oh,
April,
sorry.
speaking Hebrew.
Sorry, Second Avenue.
Here?
Yeah. Second Avenue in Kips Bay area.
Mm-hmm.
My father, I think he was born in the Bronx
Mm-hmm.
around 1926. No longer, unfortunately, with us. I'm going to visit his gravesite Sunday in
Nice.
Beth David for people who know the area. And so they were very different, right? Because both were teachers,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
like my parents.
and
Crazy.
my father got the GI Bill.
Yep.
You know, was able to go to Columbia NYU, get a master's. My mother did very well in school. She became a speech pathologist. And back then, you actually had to pass a speech test to become a teacher in New York City school system. So around 1951, 52, my father had a very thick accent, New York accent. So my mother was giving him speech lessons in preparation for the certification.
Did she charge him?
I have no idea.
I'm joking.
Yeah,
For the
could be.
and that'll be $50 for today's
Back then.
lesson. No, that's so cool that he's getting
And
professional speech therapy
she did,
from his
and
wife.
from my mom.
Yeah.
My mom, and she was engaged at the time to a Ashkenazi Jew named Murray. And
Aren't they all named Murray?
Murray? He was going to be an
Murray or
engineer.
Irving?
Murray.
Yeah.
That's like the joke. Like what was it in when Harry met Sally?
Yeah.
That she said this
Oh,
guy.
yeah, the accountant, Sheldon.
Sheldon.
Sheldon. Yeah, that's the perfect name for an accountant. Anyway, yeah, that's a
Right.
great scene. So
Murray.
Yeah.
And then my father was Maurice. And my father is a Romano-Greek Jew, very dark, Mediterranean, jet black hair, brown eyes, totally different from Murray. She dropped Murray for Maury. So he had what would be called back then a mixed marriage. Right?
Oh, that's funny.
Because of two different traditions, Ashkenazi and the Romano tradition. Very few Greek Jews around, unfortunately. And so I grew up in the Bronx. My Greek grandparents lived right next door. And my parents both worked. My Greek grandparents would take us. We were 2 blocks away from the Bronx Zoo.
Yep.
We were close to Botanical Gardens.
Pelham Parkway.
Arthur Avenue,
Yep.
the Italian section. My father taught at what used to be called Roosevelt High School next to Fordham University. And then I would go to all the movies in the neighborhood because my grandfather had retired from working in the garment industry. And we go to the Lowe's Fairmont, the RKO Chester, blah, 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 blah. And so it was actually a very mixed neighborhood, something out of a sitcom. We had on the top floor the O'Connors. He was a cop. We had the Catanzaros, you know.
Literally a
the other-
1970s sitcom.
Well, for me, it was the
neighbors-
early 60s.
Right.
Now, how do you go from the Bronx
Yeah.
to eventually getting in, fortunately, to an Ivy League school and graduate school? How did that happen? Well, I have to credit my mom because she said at age 10, we're going to move up to Rockland County. Right. And my father was resistant because it meant he had to commute. But eventually he realized it was a great thing. And because of all the out-migration from New York City, the public school system in Rockland County was like it was in a renaissance. We had really terrific teachers and administrators. I went to Hillcrest Elementary School, Pomona Junior High School. Connie Selico went to my high school and on junior high school. Johnny Hill was my jazz band member. His father, Stephen Hill, was the first guy in Mission Impossible.
Law and Order.
Right? And then Law and Order later on. So I had great stimulation from classmates, great teachers, amazing teachers, one of whom was at my mom's 95th birthday, Ruth Davis, still around, taught me European history. Because of that education that I got at home, my parents being educators and having great public school education, I was able to get into Princeton. So that I credit the public school system of Rockland County, particularly East Ramapo.
I would also give a little credit to your brain, which anytime anyone that talks about you, they go, yeah, no, he just thinks differently. And he has a mathematical, like a brain that works like no other. Like you have to give that credit to either your parents, your genes, God's gift to you. Like it is also, it's the schools were great, but your brain.
I tend to think that because I originally was going to be a lawyer, and it's lucky I got a
What a
DBA.
waste. Who needs that? We don't need
I
that.
think it's that growing up in, I guess what you call a multicultural background, you have a tendency to be exposed to a variety of variables, ideas. And then, so at an early age, you have to develop the ability to connect the dots. And I think if you are practiced in that facility over time, that helps you think a little differently, I guess.
Again, you're not giving credit to your own natural DNA.
I mean, everybody.
Your brain is better than ours combined.
But what are you going to say when you're asked, how did you get this way? You say, oh, my brain's different.
Yeah, you got to say that.
That's it.
Hey, when I'm looking at Michael Jordan, I go, how are you the greatest basketball player of all time? Well, I was born and then I worked my tuchus off to become, but I was born on a talent level that's like no other.
Yeah, but let me put it to you this way. Both of you are in the humor field.
A little bit. Me more than
yeah. And so
me more so.
Okay.
Me more.
Me more.
So
Yes.
don't you have to work really hard?
Yeah, really hard.
Right?
But we were born
No,
with gifts.
See, no, I was born with a much greater gift than you, but
Obviously.
but I don't work as hard as you.
I know that because I was born with less of a gift.
Right.
But I always.
But you're people would say about Elon Gold.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen your show. I'm sure you're
amazing.
I know you've written for Curb Your Enthusiasm and you're I aspired to be what you do.
Mitch, back to me, please.
So
what do people say about me? What do people say about me?
I'm just saying that it's what did Edison said? He was like a genius. He said success is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. Right. And then Woody Allen said 80% of success in life is showing up.
Right. Well, you know what? There's a reason they were both atheists because I give credit to God.
I agree with that.
And I say these minimal talents that I have to do impressions, to write comedy, to perform is all from God.
Right.
And I'm nothing but a vessel filled with a little bit of talent. And it's not, my parents are beautiful, amazing people. I love them more than anyone besides my children and wife. They have no talent. They have a little bit of talent. What? I'm just saying it's not passed on.
Yeah, but your father was a teacher.
Yeah, both teachers.
And both teachers.
They weren't song and dance men.
I understand that.
Your mom has the gift of gab.
That's true.
When you are a humorist, when you're up there, you are an educator.
100%. It is so interesting. I had that thought a week ago. I said, why do I love teaching so much in my comedy?
Right.
Why do my bits teach the truth?
Right.
Because I come from two teachers.
Right.
I'm obsessed
You're
with
educating us because, like I said,
100%.
you're allowing us to connect ideas that we wouldn't necessarily connect.
Right.
We get surprised, and then we
new thoughts. My favorite joke that I've written was the first joke I ever wrote about being Jewish and being modern Orthodox.
Right.
And I say, I finally figured out what modern means, and modern Orthodox means not so. I'm not so Orthodox. And it's like, that was a revelation because we've been living modern Orthodox for years and no one ever put it together. What it is, what it means. That first thought is everything. But again,
so wait a minute.
Divine inspiration.
So here, this goes back to, you want to know my origin story, but let's let's tell the audience about the origin story of this podcast.
Yeah.
Because it goes to that observation
Amazing.
that you just said
Yeah.
about, looking at words just like George Carlin or other comedians who understand things like that and then communicate that properly. You were dispensing the parallels between what was going on post October 7th I think it was on Instagram or wherever you were posting, and what was going on in the Torah for that week.
Right.
And when I saw that and I saw that connection, right, and I said, wait a minute, Elon is giving us Dvar Torahs that allow us
this
not...
dumb comedian is giving us Dvar Torahs
I said,
relating
that's
the
really
Parsha
great.
to this week and what we're feeling and going
So that's why I went to OpenDor Media and said, we got to
give them a little bit more of a platform.
Because if we're dealing with an issue of disaffected Jews, particularly given what we've seen with this election in New York City, where they are not being exposed to the beauty and the wisdom of our traditions, right? Because, and there's a vacuum there, it's going to be filled with really bad stuff. We're seeing it.
Yep.
And it's going to have consequences. So we have an obligation to try to fill it, that vacuum that would otherwise exist, with the best channels of communicating stuff. And one of those channels is what I saw in you, because if you can make those observations and also do it in an entertaining, humorous way, that's very powerful.
It is. And first of all, thank you for helping make this podcast happen. And I didn't want to do a podcast. And when they first called, they said, well, every comedian has a podcast. I don't want to just be another comedian with a podcast. But then I heard why, and I heard who was saying, no, he should have more. And it was you. And it was because we need a little bit more inspiration in the world now from a guy that you least expected.
Right.
I ain't no rabbi.
Right.
You know, I'm barely a comedian.
Yeah, but what's his name was a rabbi, and then he became a humorist.
Jackie Mason.
Jackie Mason.
To tell you the truth, it makes me nauseous to think a person such as yourself, such a low person, has to bring me up in such a way. It makes me nauseous. It's nauseating, disgusting. Who do you think you are? A person in your position, a person like me.
Anyway, so the point is, thank you for doing it. And the reason that I was
very good.
And the reason that I was doing those videos is
that clap came all the way from the Catskills.
the reason I was doing those videos, and I'm so glad it sparked an idea for you, is because I could not do comedy post October 7th.
Yeah, it was tough, right?
Could not.
It's like after 9/11.
I just said that on another episode to Yochai Sponder.
Right.
I said there were 2 times in my life I felt almost embarrassed to be a little clown. This is what I do for a living. I tell jokes when the world is this heavy and serious. I shouldn't
I think
even...
Saturday Night Live broke the ice on that.
They did on 9/11. I remember that.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried.
It was Gilbert?
I mean, Gilbert Gottfried did it pretty immediately.
What did he do?
I think he either tweeted or said something at a roast. Like, it was just immediately after, and he went for it.
What was his angle?
I don't have a memory at all.
Did it sound something like
At
this?
all.
Oh,
Do it with me.
oh, stop it. Stop it. Enough with the drama and the trauma. We need to get back to laugh.
Right.
Did you hear the one about the aristocrat?
Oh, no.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
He did
The aristocrat. That
That's what it was.
Okay, fine. There you go. I said, instead of sitting home and just being horrifically sad and traumatized, why don't I just do something? And then when I noticed that the first Rashi, the commentary of the first Parsha, the section of the Torah of that week, Bereshit, was all about, and the first Rashi is, why did the Torah, the Bible, start with, in the beginning, God created the earth? This is a book of rules. It's a rule book.
Right.
So why didn't he start with, okay, here's rule number 1. And the commentary, the greatest commentary ever, Rashi said, because this is 1,000 years ago, because people will always say that Israel doesn't belong to the Jewish people. And I want to remind the world in this little book called the Bible that I created the world and I decided and promised this land to one people.
Right.
So it was a reminder. He knew, like Rashi knew 1,000 years ago that the world will go, it doesn't belong to you,
right.
your colonizers, your occupiers.
Very
it's not
powerful.
It's very powerful. So when I read that, I went, I have to tell people this
Right.
because I never heard of this.
Right.
So I just went online. Couldn't do comedy. Let me do a little of this. So thank you for noticing and thank you for being here. Now, one more question, and then we end with the 3 W's. The question is, how the hell did you become so damn successful? Nobody is as successful as you.
No,
Nobody.
First of all, it's not true. If
There
you
are
look
4
at,
other people.
If you look at if you look at all the people that Mike Milken and Lowell Milken put together during the Drexel days,
Right.
they have the Drexel diaspora after
Right.
all that happened around 1990 when Drexel had to declare bankruptcy. Everybody, whether it's Ken Moelis, Mark Rowan, all these guys have gone out and done very, very, very well.
You're saying good teachers.
So we had, again, look, you know Rabbi Heller from the community,
Sure.
Rabbi Dov Heller. He's also a psychiatrist, psychologist, I believe. He said something that to me is another thing that I carried throughout my life, besides always with a little humor. He said, always have great teachers in your life, great partners, personally and professionally, and students. And that's I call that the trifecta of Jewish learning. And so that I'm a good student. What can I tell you?
You're an excellent teacher.
I think I'm a good.
And you're an excellent
Well,
teacher.
I'm actually going to teach my 15th year after I do this with you, and I have a little bit of a break. I'm going to teach a value investing class, 15th year.
Where?
At UCLA.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, I'll be there.
And so,
Well, you want to learn something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so I think that's, so to answer your question, you first of all, it has to do with this attitude that even though we have to believe in ourselves and we have doubts and all the insecurities that, Woody Allen plays out so well and Jerry Lewis and all these people, you have to have a sense of confidence, number one. And number two, that confidence can't override your humility.
Right.
Because when you're humble, you're open to receiving,
Yes.
right? I mean, I think that's why Moses is regarded as
The humblest of humble.
and
Yes.
one of the greatest of leaders. 'Cause
Yes,
He,
and
as you said
teachers.
before, you think you're a vessel. Oh, Moses is the ultimate vessel.
Obviously.
So you
I
can't
mean,
be
not
a
as much as I am, but
can't-
almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't be a vessel if
Yeah.
you're not open. And
100%.
humble, right? So that's how you learn. You say, you basically, I'm a great student. I'll always be a student. I always want to learn. I want to learn from this guy. I get jazzed by learning from this guy.
Yep.
So I have always had throughout my life
Yep.
really great teachers, and I've had a great partner in Josh Friedman and
Yep.
my colleagues at Canyon.
Yep.
My wife, as with your wife,
The great Jolene.
without having a great partner,
100%.
really makes everything worthwhile.
100%.
And then,
in life and in work.
And then
that's why you
you're-
need a better work partner.
and then your first students,
yeah. And my
and
first students
your first students are your
are
children.
my kids.
Right.
100%.
And then they become your teachers,
Absolutely.
right?
That's
So
amazing.
that's what I attribute.
That's amazing. And
any success that I've been able to achieve is because of that simple idea that Rabbi Heller articulated so well.
Yes. And you have a special brain. But anyway,
Okay.
and it reminds me of my mom, who, again, an educator her whole life. She says, all I do all day and all I want to do all day is teach and learn. It's all she
Right.
wants to do.
That's what she likes.
Yeah, and that's why. So that's incredible. Okay, so we end with something called the 3 W's.
Go ahead.
Okay, the 3
Not
W's.
the big W from It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Correct.
Another reference.
Another
that
reference.
nobody
No,
will get.
you are an incredible fan of movies.
Yeah.
big W.
No. You have no idea.
Well, my grandfather used to, like I said, my
Yeah.
grandfather used to take me all the time.
no. Film,
Yeah.
comedy. Ask him any question about any comedian in
So
history.
the 3 W's, not the big W.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
3 W's is what are you working on?
Yeah.
What are you worried about? And what do you wish for as a third? Yeah. So what are you working on? You're going to be a teacher now, professor.
Yeah, working on. What am I working on?
Doing better.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay,
I just want to do a little better.
Very quickly on this. So over the years, as you get older, you try to distill what you're about. And when it comes to philanthropy, there are 2 things that inform how I think about what I'm working on. One is building bridges and blowing up bridges. All right, hugging and hitting. Right? Like in Seinfeld, they said no hugging, no learning.
yes.
That was
Larry and
I
Jerry.
believe in the hugging thing. So this podcast that I was so privileged to support is hugging.
Right.
Building bridges, making connections with people who would otherwise be disaffected.
Right.
The hitting part is finding the leverage points in the system and hitting hard so that our adversaries know that we're not going to give up and we're going to challenge them. So that means, for example, lawfare. For example, we're suing the LAUSD because of the ethnic studies curriculum in California, in Los Angeles, because it's just a front for Jew hatred and
Right.
anti-Zionism.
Right.
That's what I believe.
Right.
And then we published an article in the Jewish Journal talking about that case. And then we got other people to chime in, and we got other organizations also doing that. What's going on in K through 12 is an outrage, right? They say you get a kid in the first 5 years, you get them for life, right? So that's the hitting part. But on the hugging side, if you're going to say this curriculum sucks, you got to come up with something. So with Rabbi Soloveitchik, we're coming up with a curriculum for K through 12 called Restoring the American Story, the Role of the Hebrew Bible in American History, and why our Judeo-Christian heritage we should all be proud of. We should be able to make sure everybody is aware of it. So that's what I'm working on.
I love that. And, you know, I wouldn't even call it hitting. I would call it fighting back.
Fighting back.
You know what I mean?
It's alliteration.
I get it. It's the hugging and hitting. But really, hitting sounds like you're a bully.
Yeah,
you're being bullied.
Right.
And you're trying to fight the bully.
Exactly.
And
I think we're being bullied in terms of a lot of different institutions that have been captured.
Yeah.
Either by the
entire universities are allowing anti-Semitism to fester.
The progressive Islamists on the left, or what's going on in the right.
Yeah. Equally scary.
Right. Equally scary.
And
the next W?
No, the thought I had though
go
that
ahead.
was interesting is that you said about don't just kvetch about it, have a solution.
Oh yeah, you can't just say
Correct.
this is bad, this is bad.
Do you know that in a writer's room, if there's a group of 10 writers and they're writing whatever, The Simpsons, whatever show it is, if a writer says, I don't like that joke, it's terrible, he doesn't have a job the next day. You're not allowed to do that. You have to just pitch on a better version of it. Think of something better and then pitch that. Don't just go, that sucks, and then leave, because you're not going to have a job the next day. So that's what you're doing. The other W is, what are you worried about?
I'm worried about institutional capture.
Capture?
Meaning how major institutions in our country have been captured either by, as I said before,
Qatari funds? Yeah.
Either the Soros money,
right,
which, you know, or the Qatari money, and or, you know, whatever, this unholy alliance between the woke left and the Islamist groups. And you know what they have in common? They both are globalists. You know, for example,
they accuse us of being, by the way.
Well, in a way, but
what's
you know,
the example?
Well, the people who say like the UN should be the governing institution, they don't believe in the nation state.
Right.
Now, this may be a little esoteric for the audience, but essentially, nation states are very important in the way the world operates. Global institutions inevitably, in my view, get corrupted, such as the UN, right? Well, I think George Soros and a lot of people on the left are globalists. They believe in these supranational organizations. I believe in the nation state, and their prime target is
Jews.
And
Israel. Yeah.
Because if they can topple the nation state of Israel, then they have a entry point into Western civilization big time. So that's the left.
It's destroying Western civilization.
Correct.
Yeah.
And in instituting some global whatever they think they can.
Right.
You know, this sounds very conspiratorial, but another.
No, I understand
exactly
what you're saying.
On the other hand, the Islamists believe in a global institution called the Caliphate.
Caliphate.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now they're united.
Right. That is fascinating and scary.
Alliteration. What I'm worried about.
Fascinating and frightening. How's that for alliteration?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, it is.
They're both globalists.
Yes, it is frightening.
And they're both targeting Israel as the nation state to topple, because if they topple Israel, and the door is open.
Right.
Sounds like I'm a very scary, weird guy.
No, it sounds like common sense to me, and it sounds like, you know, you're poking through what people don't understand is happening in the world by, again, the alt-right and the far left, and now they're converging against Israel and Jewish people.
The alt-right is not good up to this point. When you talk about hugging and hitting, they're about blowing up things. You know, very bad, tragic, you know, kind of things that are violent. They're not as good as institutional capture. They're not as good. But the first real battle is going to be over Turning Point USA. Who's going to control Turning Point USA?
Right.
Is it going to go to the Tucker Carlsons of the world and the Candace Owens?
Would be frightening.
Or is it going into
Horrible.
the Ted Cruz, Huckabee camp that
Right,
believe
which
that
is less
Israel
scary.
is a blessing, not a curse.
Right. Right. I agree. And then the third W, what do you wish for?
Okay. Well, I think I could always say like I'm in a beauty contest and
Right.
world peace. World peace.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like that was
No, you're better than that, Mitch.
Groundhog Day.
There's a reason we asked you to be on this podcast because we thought you'd do better than world peace.
Yeah. So
What do you wish for, Mitch Julis?
Well, look, I can focus on my family, and you know, I have a son who's going to get married.
Mazel tov. We're going to the wedding, June
he's
4th.
taking
God willing.
Aliyah.
Yep, amazing.
So you want your kids to be healthy and have meaningful lives, and you know, make an impact on the world if that makes sense from their standpoint. Because ultimately, I mean, I think when you wish that for your kids, you're wishing that for everybody, right? That they want their kids to prosper, and
Charity begins at home.
and so, you know, that's what I wish for. But I'm not going to just wish for it. You know,
You're going to do something.
I'm going to invest ahead of time in their, and hopefully in their future, in the
Right.
sense of trying to do these things that we've talked about during those last
Right.
few minutes.
And who better to invest in the future than the greatest living investor
Now,
of
now
all time? This is what I've heard.
Excuse me.
This is what I've heard. I'm
Let me set the
regurgitating.
record- Let me
Yes.
set the record
Go
straight.
ahead.
Let me set
You're
the
not
record
the
straight
best
on-
investor?
No.
Okay.
We have done
Well,
We have done well
Yeah.
at Canyon, and we continue to really strive to do well.
can I borrow $1,000?
Yeah, you absolutely. I say, absolutely.
Do you need anything?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You also need some?
As long as you put it to good work.
Okay, fine.
Does rent count?
Could you pay his rent? Is
For
that
how long?
for how long? It's not a no. It's not yes.
You can write jokes for me to, you know, that I can bring back to my firm.
By the way.
But let me just say that, just to
Yes.
put it into context, it's in the investment world, there's always going to be dislocation. And so the question is, a lot of it, and Warren Buffett has said this, a lot of his success was, first of all, most of his success was being born in the United States versus another country.
Yeah.
So if you're going to
That's
be an
a privilege
investor,
right there.
you're going to, being born in the United States
Yep.
is like a big leg up, number
For a
one.
lot of people, yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, we have a federal system. So what does that mean? We have 50 different states competing for human, physical, and financial capital. So you can always vote with your feet. So I could vote with my feet in New York. I could go from the Bronx, which was great, and then move up to Rockland County. And then I could go and vote with my feet and go to school at Princeton. And I can vote with my feet and I go to Harvard, right? And then eventually, instead of working in New York for a law firm, I could vote with my feet and go out to Los Angeles and work for Mike Milken. And that is like a big deal. That ability, you can vote three ways. You can vote with your feet, you can vote at the ballot box, and you can vote with your genitals.
How so?
Vote with your have kids.
Oh,
If you look at Israel and the demographics of Israel, people are investing in the future by having kids. They're voting for the future with their genitals, you know. Fertility. Europe is committing demographic suicide. South Korea, you know what the reproduction rate is? 0.72. North Korea doesn't have to do anything. Japan, they love their culture, yet they only have 1.2 kids. Being born in this country is a huge leg up if you want to be an investor. A lot of tailwinds in my life. A lot of people did quite well because of when we entered the very disrupted marketplace post Drexel, when Michael unfortunately went to jail and the market was in disarray. So we had conditions. So it's not only where we were born, but timing. And then the ultimate thing is staying power.
yes.
Being able, because if you don't have that, and that's either your personal resiliency or simply support
Yeah.
from your family or your colleagues,
Yeah.
if you're hanging in there, just like an athlete, if he shows up and on any given Sunday, you know, somebody's going to get that touchdown. And so that, I think, are some of the key things.
Talk
That's it.
about sticking the landing right there. The one and only Mitch Julis. Thank you so much for
Such a
your
pleasure.
wisdom,
Yeah.
for your support, and just for being you, because I know you're a champion of our people and you're out there fighting. Thank you so much for being here. The one and only, the legendary Mitch Julis, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. And now it's time for the Yiddish word of the week, featuring none other than my parents, Malka and Sydney Gold. How are you guys?
We're actually gesund.
Oh,
Is that they? I have a feeling that might be our Yiddish word of the week. What do you think, Eli?
it is. What is gesund, and is it the word of the week? And then, if so, what does it mean?
And can it be used in a sentence
Means
or a
help.
song?
Sei gesinnt. That's a blessing.
Like when you're making a toast, you say sei gesund.
Oh, that's a very famous one. I've heard that a lot. Sei gesund, sei gesund. So what does it mean?
Sei gesinnt.
What does it mean?
When you're having a conversation with
Gesund
somebody.
is dying.
You
Sei
should be
gesinnt.
You should be gesinnt.
Right.
Gesinnt.
Gesinnt means healthy.
Ah.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
it does?
Oh, so it's like
Gesund?
Gesinnt means healthy.
It's like to life,
Yeah,
l'chaim.
it's like l'chaim.
Right.
Sei
That's your life. It's a blessing. Sei gesinnt. Be healthy.
So when do you say sei gesinnt? When you're toasting, and what other occasions do you say sei gesinnt?
When you leave, you're saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
Saying goodbye.
You
Sei
say
gesinnt.
Sei
Sei
gesinnt.
gesund.
And you hang up.
I like that. And it means you should be in good health.
Right.
Exactly.
It's directly correlated to health always, or like good life or good anything? Is it anything else?
Gesund means health. Good health.
Okay, so could I say mein Gesint is
Not
falling
great.
off? Yeah,
You what?
my Gesint is kind
His
of falling-
mental gesint.
My mental Gesint
It's not always
not necessarily leading me down the
the right
derech.
path, the derech.
Yeah.
His mental gesint.
Well, now.
No.
Okay. Perfect. That's
No.
right.
Okay, fine. Okay.
No, that. Can you sing the song?
Dad, sei gesint.
Yeah.
What?
I get a pumpkin. Gesund
No. Oh, the Tyre Malka, that
Okay.
song.
Gesund Sost is dying.
He's saying, my dear Malka,
Right.
should be healthy.
I love
Sei
gesint, Mama.
You say goodbye. Sei gesund, everyone.
Stars of David. Thank
Everyone
you
who's
for listening.
listening now. This is our blessing.
Sei gesint.
Sei gesund.
Sei gesint. Stars of David is a production of Unpacked, an OpenDor Media brand. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and check us out on Instagram and YouTube.
If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a rating on Apple or Spotify. It really does help. It really does help us when you tell other people to find our show.
It does?
Yeah, I think so. That's what is written in front of me, and I'm reading that.
Stars of David is hosted by me, Elon Gold.
And me, Eli Leonard, and we are produced by Michael Weber.
Thank you for listening. We do appreciate you.
Yes, v'koiminish kodesh
As
li'edo.
always, good.
Yantif v'shamru v'nei Yisrael le'yisha shoyim baz.